The January 6th House Select Committee has finally released its 800-page report on Donald Trump. It's their extensive investigation into the attack on the Capitol. And we found some new details about what Trump was demanding or asking for behind the scenes and prior to the riots taking place in the nation's capital. Apparently, he wanted National Guard troops to protect him as he marched over to the Capitol with those rioters. 2 days before the January 6th assault, then President Donald Trump persisted in his desire to accompany demonstrators, that's a cute word here, on a march to the Capitol, suggesting that 10,000 National Guard troops could provide protection for him and his entourage. No, but like, think about what that means. So have the National Guard assist Donald Trump in undoing the political will of the American people and essentially dismantling our democracy. But let me continue. According to the committee, White House senior advisor Max Miller shot it down immediately out of concern for Trump's safety, indicating that there was no additional conversation about the National Guard protection plan. Just glad we killed the National Guard and a procession, Miller later texted to Trump aide Katrina Pearson. And obviously by kill, it means kill Trump's idea to have the National Guard, protect him as he marched to the Capitol with the rioters. So Cenk, does that change anything? I mean, I appreciate the report. I appreciate the hearings that the January 6th panel did. I appreciate the investigation they conducted. The real question is, what now?
Okay, well, I like the juxtaposition here because remember, when he finds out that the Capitol is being attacked, people are telling him, his advisors, everyone else, call in the National Guard. Also, we find out through these same releases, Kevin McCarthy calls Jared Kushner, who apparently was naked, and Kushner says he had to put clothes on because Kevin was so scared. And they're trying to get a hold of Donald Trump, and they're desperately calling everyone to get a hold of him because they're worried that Donald Trump's fans are about to murder them. And Kevin McCarthy, of course, going to be likely the next Speaker of the House, the head of the Republicans in the House, but he's worried, he's scared to death. And that's Jared Kushner telling you that, right? But Trump will not call in the National Guard. He will not do it. Literally, and then here's another fact that we find out. Literally everyone in the White House is telling him, you've got to call off these guys, and he will not do it. But apparently, he thought the National Guard should be involved if they were going to help the riot, if they were going to have him march down. He was willing to bring in 10,000 of them just so that he could march with them like a dictator, right? And maybe take over the Capitol using some portion of the military, right? But when he finds out that they're not going to help the riot, that they might put down the riot, he's like, no, I want the Capitol attacked. No National Guard.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, he only wanted to use the National Guard for his purposes, for his protection, but not to protect the Capitol Police and everyone that was being trampled over by these rioters as the riot was taking place. Another interesting tidbit from the report has to do with the days and weeks leading up to the January 6th riots and a memo that was drafted by the Trump administration calling for the firing of anyone in the staff who did not believe that the election was stolen. In Trump's White House counsel, Pat Cipolloni's deposition, which was released Friday, investigators mentioned a memo drafted by White House staffers in December of 2020, a month after Trump lost the election, that ended with, quote, anybody that thinks there wasn't massive fraud in the 2020 election should be fired. And that's who Trump is, right? I mean, it's the kind of conditioning he's had his entire life. If you don't like something, you just fire the person, right? And I mean, that's what made him famous with the show that he was on, The Apprentice. You're fired. And that's just his knee-jerk reaction to anything. It's just that in this case, we're literally talking about our democracy. We're talking about a presidential election that turned out to not favor him for a second term.
Quick side note, mainstream media is amazing because they got Americans to root for a billionaire firing people every week. they tune in to be like, oh, somebody else got fired by a really rich person. This is so fun, right? Now back to the main event. Last thing, so he had asked the Attorney General. Remember, originally it was Barr. Just make up something about how we had election fraud. And Bill Barr, one of the most right-wing guys this country's ever seen, a guy who believes that the executive should be so strong that it's nearly dictatorial, was like, no, that's a bridge too far. There isn't any fraud. And so I can't lie and have you stay in office when you didn't win, because then that means democracy's 100% over. No, it's a bridge too far. And so Barr then resigned because Trump wanted him to lie. He brings in and the new guy, Rosen, and he tells Rosen, and there's a quote, just say the election was corrupt and leave the rest to me and the Republican congressman. So just say it, it doesn't matter, okay? I'll do the rest of the dirty work in destroying democracy. Rosen and his deputy attorney general say, not only will we not say that, but we will resign together if you try to appoint anyone else into this position to make up that lie, okay? And it prevents him from putting in a lackey who is going to lie about it. And it's among the things that saved our country and our democracy. So if you're wondering who was the worst person in the Trump administration, it was Donald J. Trump. Even all the horrible people that he surrounded himself with thought, my God, you gotta call in the National Guard when people in your own party and your own vice president might get murdered. And no, we don't wanna end democracy right now. And he was like, end it and kill him, who cares? He's the worst guy in the country.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.